It's Gianna Lum at Crypto, where we keep you in the loop on all the latest trends and news on crypto and blockchain technology. We have a very special guest on our show today. We have Avatar Nick.
How's it going?
So we actually missed each other at NFT NYC this year. I was going to interview you at the Cardano kickoff party, but it's good to have
Oh,
you
yes.
today.
I unfortunately couldn't make it last minute, but we're here now.
Yeah, we're here. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the projects that you're doing? I know you have Saturn NFT. You also have Mercury
Yes.
Wallet, and you're really involved with the Cardano community. So I want to know what have you been up to and how do you get into all of this?
Yeah. So I guess we'll start how we got into all this
Yeah, sure, let's do
originally.
that.
So basically, I was, very interested in crypto. I was interested in crypto all the way back in 2016, and I bought a couple of cryptos, whatever, but it was not really into it heavily. Just bought a little bit. Then obviously you had the mania that was 2021. I was like, all right, time to like really start looking at what all this is about. And I became very interested in Ethereum originally, and then I wanted to see other blockchains that were similar to it. And then that's kind of how I found Cardano as well. I'm more blockchain agnostic. I kind of like most blockchains, but I think Cardano has a unique set of things that are very different than what every other blockchain is trying to do. Whereas most blockchains are trying to copy pretty much all the aspects of Ethereum, Cardano's taking a radically different approach and some technology that I really like. And so that's kind of why I've been gravitating more towards Cardano over the past year or so. But I started getting into the NFT scene when I first heard about the Clay Nations. I was like, this is really, I just didn't know anything about NFTs. Like, this is really weird. But I didn't know anything about it. So I just bought one, super early on because I just wanted to see what it was about. And I kind of started to understand, the digital scarcity and all that type of thing. So I started to understand all that crypto stuff. And then gradually along the way, I realized that, the Cardano tech, the core tech was good, but a lot of the tools built on top were quite bad, actually. There was not a lot of ecosystem development as opposed to ETH. And then from a financial perspective, it's like, well, if you could build things that the community likes that actually build up the ecosystem, there's also a financial reward as well. So that's how we started things like Saturn NFT, Mercury, and then, some other, tools and things that didn't work out, but, just a lot of things that did as well. We did open source C# library, so now Cardano can interact with Unity and video games like Ethereum can. So we're really trying to push the space forward from a tech perspective. I'm not really a marketer, so that's kind of why I haven't been like super popular on Twitter for most of the time. But basically trying to build the tech out to be at least on par with ETH, if not better in the future.
I think we can be better in the future. So you come from more of a developer background, and you were introduced from these tools as a developer. And a lot of people come from like gambling, or they'll come from art or other spaces. It's always interesting to see like, how did you get into this? But you were strictly a developer first, and then found these tools, found these communities to start building with. Very cool.
Yeah, and I found because I built my own project to write a smart contract. When I really found Cardano interesting when they launched smart contracts in December.
Yeah.
And that's when I started looking into actually doing something development-wise with Cardano, maybe a little bit after smart contracts were first developed, maybe like, mid-October or something. And I wanted to do a simple NFT project that was like an Ether Rocks clone. It was very simple. I just was like, is this something that's even possible on Cardano with the smart contracts? Didn't really understand anything. Ended up copying and pasting most of the SpaceBuds code base because I just had absolutely no idea how anything worked. I mean, I knew it was UTXO, was similar to Bitcoin. I didn't know anything. So copied SpaceBud code base, got it done on New Year's Eve on 2021. So we got the project out right before 2022. I wanted that as like the milestone. And it was a silly project. It's like kind of a blob thing that goes on for 6 years. It's like an auction. But it was basically just for fun. And then over time, I was like, okay, there's got to be better ways to do all of this. And there was a couple tools out there, but they were pretty hard to use. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to make something like super cool, and we're really going to push the tech. And then obviously when Alessandro wrote CIP-68 in August, that's when I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then when I talked to him actually at CNFTCon, I was like, okay, this is absolutely the future of Cardano NFTs. We got to build this now.
Do you want to talk more about, let's talk about CIP-68 NFTs, and then let's talk more about your project. But yeah, can you explain what is CIP-68? For anyone who's new to Cardano, that's Cardano Improvement Proposal 68. And yeah, Nick can talk more about how that works and how they're different from the old version.
Yeah, so to basically put it really simply, Cardano NFTs came out before smart contracts. So that's pretty much the first thing to know. And because of that, they didn't have a lot of the compatible infrastructure when Cardano smart contracts came out. So basically, CIP-25 is the old NFT standard. Those NFTs can't be read in smart contracts. You can read the name, but you can't read any of the data inside the actual NFT. So just from a future proofing perspective, if you want to do anything interesting with NFTs, anything from RealFi, anything from any degenerate gambling type of thing, you can't really do a lot of the sophisticated stuff. And that was kind of the first thing. But then also, you can't do any type of like dynamic programmability with Ethereum. Everything's a contract. You can code and make it do all this fancy stuff. You can't do that with Cardano. So it was a huge limitation with CIP-25 unless you keep it totally open and unlocked, and you might as well just use a regular database at that point. So that was kind of the first indication when I was talking to Alessandro, when he really talked about the smart contract readability. That was like, okay, obviously this has to happen. There is a small downside to CIP-68 in that you have to have a small 2 ADA-ish min UTXO to the smart contract, but that's not that bad. And then also the Cardano Foundation and IOG can like lower that parameter, which I think they will in the future. But that's the only downside being that, and you get so much of this extra functionality. Means that it was basically no brainer. So what we did with Saturn is that Saturn is my NFT creation platform, but it's molded into a lot more than that now. Now it's a NFT upgrade platform, a customization engine, a wormhole. Like there's just so many features now compared to where it was. But basically, what it does is CIP-68. We didn't want to launch it when we were doing the Saturn. We had CIP-25 NFT support, and we didn't want to just launch CIP-68 NFTs. We actually had CIP-68 minting back in like December, like early December. But it was kind of secret. Like we didn't have it on the production version. And we had like a very simple smart contract running and everything, but we didn't release it because we're like, okay, we'll launch this CIP-68, but there's not really anything interesting you could do with it yet. No one's going to care because there's the meme in blockchain. Like no one cares about the tech. So if you can't do anything with these NFTs, no one's going to care about it at all. So what we did is we spent basically 2 months behind the scenes building a full upgrade engine for games. Let's say you have an NFT, you want to upgrade the NFT by, if you beat the boss in a game, that is now possible. Or maybe you want people to be able to buy rare traits for the NFT. Or you have like these whole sub economies where people can customize their NFT and things like that. That is now all possible as well with our various smart contracts. So we basically spent 2 months doing that before we launched. And then when we launched, people really took notice. Like, oh, you could do all of this crazy stuff with Cardano NFTs now, and it's even better than ETH because you don't need to pre-program everything. You can, but with Ethereum, because they're all contracts, you have to pre-program everything. You don't need to do that with Cardano now. So we launched that, and a lot of people took notice. It was really popular, but there were a lot of projects that kind of took notice behind the scenes, but not a ton. But the Ape Society basically took note, and then once we did our Moon Blobs mint, which kind of went crazy, the apes went with their passport stuff for CIP-68, and we're going to show the power of the NFTs very, very soon.
For sure. Can you talk a little bit more about how creators can benefit from Saturn NFT? I know a lot of artists have been wondering, okay, like, does it make sense for me even to get into NFTs anymore? What are the benefits? What tools and resources do you provide for them?
Yeah. So in general, I think NFTs, very, very clearly are going to be used for that limited edition standard of something in the real world. I think that's obviously the case. But for artists, for example, there's no real reason not to put your creations on a blockchain. At the very least, you can timestamp and prove that you are the original creator. So you can guarantee that you could prove that. So that's already a really, really valuable use case just for the standard one-of-one artists in general. But why CIP-68 is unique and why Saturn is good for that is because now you can actually do a lot of dynamic programmability to it. Maybe you have your piece of art, but you want it to be like a living art piece. For example, you have your one initial art and you want to upgrade it over time for your most valuable holders. Maybe you give some windows where people can upgrade, and maybe they have like 10 opportunities, and then at the end you've got the full picture completed. Maybe you add a little bit more to the art over time, and at the end only a couple people have the full completed piece. Maybe they like missed out on a window, they only have like 9 of the 10. something like that. So there's a lot of artistic aspects that give CIP-68 value. You can still have that proof that your NFT is limited edition. So that's from an art perspective. But then also you have just the general collectible type projects. You have a lot of projects nowadays. They do this, 10K collection or a 5K collection or something like that. Well, you couldn't really do anything with them before based on the traits of that collection. Like an example would be, like the Ape Society. They have kind of this gamified ecosystem, but you can't read the family name, or you can't read the character, the like it's a craftsman or something. Like what is it? What the NFT is uniquely good at. So you can't do that in smart contracts. You got to do that in a centralized system. Now for NFT projects that want to build kind of a robust ecosystem, they can do that. They can actually read that data in the smart contracts. This is why the Ape Society wanted to do their passports in CIP-68, so they can get exposure to all this technology, even though their main collection is on CIP-25. So now projects can basically mint on CIP-68, and if they ever decide to do more of this gamified ecosystem type of stuff in the future, all of their NFTs are readable in smart contracts. And I think that's kind of going to be the big thing moving forward. We're actually going to be launching stuff really soon where these NFTs can be read in smart contracts. We have custom smart contracts that can actually do things based on your data. And so a good example to this, I'll just kind of I'll use an example. Let's say you've got like my blobs, my silly blobs, and maybe I want to do a special drop where for a limited time you can get this special trait on the blob, and then whoever did that in a month of time, they get a special trait. Maybe they get a little like hat or something. Then maybe later on I want to have this, because there's a game attached to it. Maybe I want to make it so that people that have that trait, that game, you now get an extra life, or you get something in that game, or maybe you just kind of look cooler in the game. So that's possible as well. But maybe, for going back to the Ape Society example, maybe you want to have like an artist, and you want to have that artist be able to get, more of the society token if they have a real life art business of some sort, and you have the smart contract able to read it. So whenever the real life business gets paid, it can now increase some value to your actual NFT that you have. So CIP-68 is very, very valuable from a smart contract perspective. Now we could do a lot of very cool things, and we're coming along at the right time for it, because now smart contracts are getting really easy to write with languages like Icon. I don't know if you've seen that around Twitter, but the famous kind of meme of Cardano is no one codes in Haskell. It's very difficult, which is true. It's very difficult to code Plutus and Haskell and all that. But now what the guys at TX Pipe did was they created a language in Rust that you could code Cardano smart contracts on. A beautiful tutorial. It's probably the best developer experience I've ever had. So I tweeted out yesterday that people don't realize what's coming. I think you're going to see an explosion of Cardano smart contracts in the next 2 months, because it's just so much easier to work with.
Next 2 months, it's super soon. Wow. Okay.
Yes. Like maybe within the next few weeks, actually.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah. So kind of, I'll give a little bit of alpha. I'm working on a smart contract, and what would have taken easily 2-3 months. I mean, this contract is crazy. We finished under a week. So it's crazy. Yeah. The new, and all of the testing infrastructure and audits and things like that. It's going to be, there's going to be an explosion of Cardano dApps very soon. If not from other people, myself, because we're just going to code 24/7 getting it all done.
I think so much has been developing lately too. I wanted to know too, with the rise of AI, have you been using any AI tools, or how do you see that affecting the whole Cardano ecosystem and also the NFT industry?
Oh yeah, AI is crazy. Actually, I'll go into a little bit later on how I think AI and crypto actually uniquely go well together. But basically, you basically use AI in all of my everyday work. I mean, pretty much anytime I'm stuck on a coding problem, you send it to ChatGPT, and it has a relatively good answer to it. It can't do a lot of the Cardano stuff yet, but there's good documentation around the new languages and Icon, so it doesn't need to be perfect. But yeah, in terms of just general programming and developing, ChatGPT is just out of this world. There is kind of this interesting thing happening on Twitter where there's like a lot of like AI influencers that are just constantly trying to like engagement farm for followers for all these new crazy AI tools. Most of them are not that great right now. The good ones are like ChatGPT and midjourney, and there's only a couple good ones, but the ones that are good are really good. Runway ML for things like video. So, there is AI hype, and there's definitely reason to be hyped about AI. It's definitely going to be the future of compute. But it's definitely overhyped right now, for sure. I mean, you're looking at a couple, maybe 2, 3 years before you get to the crazy singularity stuff. But also, what I think everybody's missing this actually is that crypto and AI go uniquely together because you have basically what was launched with ChatGPT 4s being released. You had these auto GPTs, which is these GPT agents. You can basically tell it to do something, and it'll just do it on the computer. Everybody's been hyping these up. They're terrible right now. They don't work. They're complete. They don't do anything interesting. You can see that they're trying to do things, but the error and the hallucinations of the AI compound. So right now it's not good. So it's very overhyped. However, it's not going to be long before these are extremely powerful and in that they can do a lot of the things extremely well. So that's right around the corner. So even though I'm kind of dismissing them right now, they are going to be crazy very soon. And the very easy, conjecture on this is like, okay, well, once these AI agents are roaming the internet, they're not going to be trading in US dollar. They're not going to be getting credit cards, and they're not going to be doing that. They're not going to KYC a GPT-4 agent. They're going to be using a crypto wallet. And this is kind of the big conjecture I don't think people realize is that it's much easier for the bot to store a 24-word seed phrase and perform financial transactions on the internet rather than getting a credit card and bank account. So I think you're going to look at once GPT-5 agents start to really take over, websites that don't have crypto support are going to be are going to be hit very hard because there's realistically no way for the bot to simply pay for transactions. So I think you're going to see a huge rise in websites and plugins for full crypto enabled. This means Bitcoin, Ethereum, part of every kind of crypto scenario. Maybe I think Stripe might have some integration with it. But websites are going to be a much more inclined to add crypto because the user experience of getting humans to use crypto is hard. People swipe the credit card, whatever. For robots, it's just trivial. You just store the 24-word seed phrase and boom. So that's kind of where it's going. And so, with the rise of AI, I think people are dismissing crypto a little bit. And I think that's foolish. I think obviously, AI is going to take over the world, but there's unique opportunities with combining crypto and AI.
You heard it here first. AI is going to take over the world, but also update your websites. Make sure you accept crypto on your website. You don't want to be left behind. You heard it here first.
There's this kind of like notion online that AI is going to like kill all the humans. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's the Eliezer Yudkowsky kind of view. I don't think it's going to happen because you look at we don't hunt down like chimpanzees or something. It doesn't happen. But we are going to get into time where robots are better than humans at most things. You kind of see the chess kind of saga where in 1996, we have chess beating the best human player in the world. And now it's become the point where humans can't touch any chess robots. That's going to be the same thing for most things. So it's going to be a very interesting time where humans kind of figure out where we slot into the world. But I'm optimistic that we will find that kind of niche. But I could be wrong. I don't think the absolute doomerism is going to be there. But it is going to be the case that AI is going to be very powerful. So definitely, it's time to prepare for it now.
We're going to talk a little bit more too about just how AI and NFTs and art are also working together.
Do you want me to go into all that?
Yeah, you can go into all that. I know you also talked about how artists can verify with NFTs that they are the actual creator. And I think with the rise of more just like AI art, it's going to be harder for artists to say like, no, like I am actually the original creator of this. Please verify that. And blockchain technology is going to be so important for that. But if you have any other use cases too, super curious to hear that.
Yeah. So basically, you won't be able to detect if something is AI because that you need actual AI algorithms to figure that out. But you will be able to detect if someone had created this piece. So if you create a piece and then an AI is trained on that piece and creates an almost identical copy, someone puts that as their own, you could prove using blockchain that you actually are the original owner. And then the AI algorithms can basically say, any type of copy was trained uniquely on this and it's close enough. So blockchain is extremely useful for proving that you are the actual owner of something or the creator of something. 100%. I think where NFTs are going to slot in, there's kind of these two aspects where NFTs are going to slot in the, we're talking now to 2-3 years out. NFTs are going to be fantastic for the limited edition collectibles on, things like video games and stuff. But I think really the power of NFTs is what we already have. in that it's kind of this community building tool. And you've got this digital scarcity. You've got this, pay to kind of curate this friend group in this ecosystem. You've got these Discord communities. The NFTs that actually keep their communities coming back, those are going to be the ones that are successful in the long run. You have brands and communities for pretty much any product all throughout the 20th century. Like you can even see it with Apple right now. The Apple community, people are diehard Apple fans. So NFTs have a unique opportunity to make people diehard fans of a specific project. And that's fantastic because you have already a group of people that want to support the other members of this community. So a simple example with this is that you've got a community, let's say, the Ape Society is an example again. Let's say you want to start a business where you do paintings or of the apes, or you do like a physical store for, whatever. You already have a customer base. You already have people you can advertise to, and they want to patronize your business because they're like, hey, I want to support members of this community. Maybe even pay in the native ecosystem, or you have, your NFT on the wall or something. A lot of that branding and community is the real power of NFTs. And I think a lot of people are underestimating that. I think people are trying to, I think especially the Cardano Foundation is kind of trying to shoe in NFTs into the more physical stuff, which I think there's value there. I don't want to say there's no value there, but I think that there's a ton of value in the community aspect and the curation aspect that I think is getting overlooked. I think it's getting overlooked because a lot of projects, you've got this one-time mint, and then the project founder leaves or something. It's a total mess. So you get a lot of those, but you do see a lot of the strong projects that kind of withstand and have built these like diehard communities. Those are going to be the ones that are really pushing the entire space forward. So I think there's a lot of value in that that's not being accounted for. I think we'll see that more over the next course of the month, especially on Cardano, where it was hard to develop things before. Now a lot of these NFT projects have the ability to like push the pace on things like DeFi and RealFi with all these new dApps and stuff.
I like saying DApps. A little divisive here, but I've been trying to have DApps catch on. But I really like how with these new NFTs you can interact with your artists more. Like how you said, you can have like the different pieces of the NFT also released gradually, and I think the more you interact with your community, the more the community is going to grow. And I think you're right that those will be the ones that survive in the end, not those.
Yeah, and it's also like a loyalty
things. Yeah, the loyalty too.
Exactly. So we have our like silly blob project, and it's like the people that have like played the game and like really tried to win, and they got like a red blob or a brown blob or like a super high level blob. I know those are like the diehard community members. And then if we ever do like a meetup or things in the real world, those are the people that are like super into the actual project. So you could see who's super into it as well.
We're running a little low on time now. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our community here? And how can we reach out to you or collab with you in the future if we want to get involved with what you're doing?
Yeah, so if you want to collab, I'm Avatar Nick on Twitter. I run Saturn NFT IO, where we do NFT minting, upgrading, wormhole conversions from the previous standard to the new standard, and a lot of exciting features coming out as well. More into the I'll give a little alpha, the fungible token side of CIP-68, which has not been explored, but will be very soon.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for being on the show. And feel free to reach out to him if you have more questions or if you want to collab or work with him in the future.
Fantastic.
That's it for us today. Feel free to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Feel free to share this with your friends if you enjoy this content. And we'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.
See ya.